Again, if you could clear the aisles and take your seats, we have a lot of people trying to make their way in. Okay, let's get started. Did you have a good time yesterday? How are we doing? Great. Okay. I have a few housekeeping remarks before our first speakers are introduced, so bear with me. Again, a reminder, the schedule today is very tight, so please make your way promptly to your breakout sessions, and we do understand that we're asking you to mimic the life of a cadet, which is a bit rigorous. So do the best you can, and we'll look forward to your feedback. If you haven't already visited our mobile STEM lab, it's parked just outside the entrance, back theater entrance. I would encourage you to do that, notwithstanding the rain. A reminder that at 1 o'clock today in the boardroom, which is located upstairs in the far end of this building, our exhibitors will be giving short presentations, and we'd encourage all of you to attend. The hotels have asked us if we could sort of place the nugget in your mind that you need to check out of your hotels in the morning before you board the shuttles. They've asked us to tell you that your luggage will be safe in your vehicles. The parking lots will be attended. But if you wait until after the last shuttle, then we'll have some issues about getting you checked out without additional charges. Make sense? Okay. Finally, and most importantly, I have special instructions for our high school students. How many high school students do we have here today? Raise your hand. Okay, a few. There'll be more. And their chaperones. How many chaperones do we have? Okay, great. So listen up. This is really important. Immediately after this first session this morning, you need to report to the registration area. This is where you picked up your badges and checked in. You'll be joined there by 24 or so Rockbridge High School students. You'll be assigned to a small group. This is the students, not the chaperones. The students will be assigned to a small group. There'll be a young Marine out there taking charge. The groups will be introduced to their VMI cadet guides. Those cadet guides will stay with the students throughout the whole day. They'll escort them to workshops, and they'll make sure that nobody is lost. At the end of the day, the high school students will be escorted back here to the registration area where the chaperones need to meet them. At that point, some will be staying for dinner, others will be boarding shuttles, and some will be returning to hotels. Throughout the day, if you're a high school student, you need to stay with your group. We don't want anybody to get lost. The safety of these students is our number one priority, so I need everyone's help in that regard. If you get lost, I guess I could say this to anybody, if you get lost, ask anyone in a VMI uniform, whether it's a cadet, a faculty member, or a staff member. If you see a high school student wandering, help us out. And a reminder, some of you may have heard me say this last night, if you're not a high school student, we have a lot of people interested in the high school workshop track. Those workshops are designed for cadets to mentor high school students, and we now understand that we should have had a track for teachers and administrators. And so we'll follow up hopefully this summer or with our STEM conference next year to have a track that looks exactly like the one that you all are wanting to attend. But as I said last night, the students are our priority in those workshops. So if you'd like to attend, that's fine. But if there's a student there without a seat, please give your seat to the student. And if there are no more seats, I need you to pick another session and attend that one. We understand, and I think you're in for a special treat this morning. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Megan Harold, who will introduce our speakers this morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to day 2 of our STEM conference, Math is a Gateway to STEM Success. I hope you had a good day yesterday. And today we have another good day and a full day in store for you. My name is Dr. Megan Harold. I'm an assistant professor here in the Math and Computer Science Department. My research is in mathematical biology, and I study respiratory chronic inflammation. But I'm here today to introduce our new speakers, and I'm delighted to introduce 2 of our speakers today. Dr. Randy Cohn is one of my colleagues in the math department. He is the director of VMI's Inquiry-Based Learning, Math Education and Resource Center here at VMI. He is also an assistant professor and teaches many math classes to our cadets. Randy received his undergraduate education at Salisbury in Maryland and his PhD from Virginia Tech. He enjoys learning and teaching throughout his career. He likes to say that teaching and learning also often occur simultaneously. Randy continually looks for the most effective way to engage his students, and he works constantly to encourage them to become independent thinkers. Randy loves life, he loves music, and he likes to remind us that they are usually and approximately the same thing. Our next speaker will be Deborah Crawford. This morning, she is the mathematics supervisor for the Fredericks County Public Schools, where she has been involved in a range of projects across the K through 12 spectrum in a cross-section of schools in Pennsylvania, Texas, and Virginia. She has served as a math and science teacher, department chair for mathematics, a math specialist, a Texas Instrument T3 instructor, a speaker, and an author. Her research focuses on curriculum design research, professional development for math teachers, teacher action research, personalized problem-based learning, and mathematical modeling with data collection techniques. She has co-authored 10 books for math and science teachers, including Hands-on Teaching, Hot Strategies for Using Math Manipulatives, and Activities for Middle Grade Science with the CBL2 and TI-73. She enjoys sharing with teachers and presents at various conferences, but most importantly, she enjoys being a mother of 7 children in ages 33 to 5. I know you will enjoy our opening presentation today. Please join me in welcoming Randy Cohn and Deborah Crawford.
Hi, folks. I just want to check something real quick here. Hi, welcome. We're going to have what amounts to be really swell talk about math education.
Good morning, sir. The assignment you gave us is too hard.
What are you doing, cadet?
So the assignment's way too hard.
Whoa! Yeah! What do they say about math being too hard? I don't believe it. Let's show them how we do it. Yeah, boy!
Math, how low can we go? Death row? What a brother know. Once again, math is the incredible rhyme animal. Variable, that's public enemy number 1. My teacher said solve, and I got dumb. Can I tell her that I really never had fun? Pushing symbols across the paper since I was young. Now they got me in a class I can't possibly pass. So a brother like me says, what? Calculator's killing me. What we gonna do to free our teachers up to do? What they want to do, listen for now. Powerful the people say, make a miracle. Pump the lyrical. Math is back, all in. We're gonna win. Check it out.
Yeah, yo, come on.
Here we go again.
Turn it up.
The sun at the center of the gap.
Bring the noise.
Our position. And that can be wrong.
Oh, turn it up. Yeah. We yelling and they chilling. Let's kick it in the second verse. Kick at the shotgun.
Now we're better than bad, so Navy is madder than mad at the fact we go live and mathematical. So on a roll, but it seems like soap on a rope because our teachers are struggling to cope. Listen for lessons with say inside music that some admins quietly choose to ignore. Let's connect policy makers and teachers and students. Before we go losing this war, we got to demonstrate. Longer can't we wait until they get it right? Big media, their views off a news beat. Telling me who I think math should be for.
Turn it up.
Bring the noise.
Yeah. We rocking them and socking them. We're doing it live. There's a lot of people still not awake this morning. I think it's a
Bring
clip.
the noise.
They're getting hypnotized. You're getting sleepy.
Center of the galaxy. Something important about our position.
Go kick it right here.
We will.
From coast to coast, we stop being like a comatose. Stand up, my brothers and sisters, for a math post. Math with some pizzazz, it will last. Why you ask? Roll with the rock stars. Newton, Pythagoras, we got to learn this now. We can investigate. No need to wait to get the angle straight. We going to integrate, differentiate, solve some problems today. In your own state, propagate these thoughts down the avenue. Student 2 thanking me and thanking you.
Oh, yes. I think it's about time we cut it early. Class dismissed.
Peace. I like that from the people up top. Let's thank S10 Posse for helping us out today. Yeah. And I am telling you, I'm not going. You're the best man I've ever known. There's no way I could ever go. No, there's no way. No way. I'm leaving without you. I'm not leaving without you. I don't want to be free. I'm staying. Yeah. And you're gonna love me. Weston Weaver as Flavor Ice. Come on, guys, gals, bring it in. Hey, guys, gals, bring it in. One, two, three, boom! Math students, every one of them, math students. That's a senior capstone course. So why is Carl Sagan's name up here? Yeah, well, there's all kinds of great reasons why. His voice was actually playing throughout that beat track. So I have to thank him because he inspired me as a kid. Thank Public Enemy, both of these two folks really inspired me as a young man. I'm going to switch mics here in a second, get some other things set up. I cannot forget. Let's give a round of applause for Justin Spears, the man in the booth who drives this machine, drives this bus. He worked overtime. He worked overtime to make this happen for us, to get all the levels right. You can see it's up pretty loud. It's going to come down a little bit. So here we go. I love audience participation, so here we go. Let me switch mics real quick. Just take me a second. While I'm doing that, somebody answer this question for us. Just yell it out. What? All right. I believe that. What about that one? What's that one? Somebody here knows this. 32. Yeah, there we go. That's the right answer. So we got this live now? Am I live? Yeah, good. All right, where's the guy in the bow tie? There's a guy. I saw a guy. What's the answer to this? Say it again. Solve for X. It's funny, you just change one little symbol, right? And the whole game changes. This is a hard one. This is a really hard one. All right, so this is one of my favorite quotes. Where's my clicker? There we go. I love this. This describes for me how I think about inquiry-based learning. It's also the way that I learn. I know we all learn differently. When I hear something, I have a really hard time hanging on to it. When I see something, I'm probably going to remember it. I have a visual memory. When I do something, it's pretty much guaranteed that not only am I going to remember it, I'm going to have a higher likelihood of being able to understand it. So love this. This is really the overarching theme for what we're going to do today. Now, here's a one-dimensional representation of one of the factors that happen in a classroom, right? And this one-dimensional representation is about lecturing all the way to inquiry. And my view of this, you'll hear me say my a lot because we all have different views in this. I'm going to give you one perspective. My view is that this can be a very passive role for students to take in a classroom that's lecture-based. It can be very passive. Inquiry-based learning, where it's student-centered, the lectures and the lessons are much more student-attuned. It's a more active role for the student. Now, if we're just getting started in inquiry-based learning, and we want to know where we might want to get our start on this one-dimensional representation, this would be a good place. Maybe we just want to include some presentations, student presentations in the beginning of every class, every week, some regular period where students can get involved. Perhaps we have more advanced students who have the capability of delving deeper and being responsible for more of the course material. This might be a good balance between lecture and inquiry. At VMI, this is where we're teaching our pre-calculus this year. There's almost no lecture component whatsoever. The students are working through worksheets. They're doing a lot of group work. They're mandatory presentations all the time. And we're going to come back to that in just a little while. There are going to be some videos that we can look at. Now, let's see. Where's that guy in the bow tie again? Socratic method. IBL is sometimes called the Socratic method. And it's not quite right. The Socratic method is a way for us to argue. And I'll set you up. This is what I'm going to do. That's the Socratic method, is I set you up. I say, IBL is the best way to teach mathematics. That's a good question, right? Why? That's why we're here, right? So, exactly, yeah. So, if I get you to agree with this also, and this is how I set you up to win the argument, I say, hey, some lecturers are natural orators. They inspire students to do great things. Some teachers are like this. Now, if we agree to both of these propositions, is there a problem? There is, if you consider the best way to teach the mathematics is to include inspiring students. What we often mean, and the position I'll take, rather than thinking that IBL is the be-all, end-all, fix-all for mathematics, I don't believe that. I do believe that it's a proven effective way, and we're going to look at a couple of studies here in a few minutes about why I'm saying that it's a proven effective way to teach mathematics. It's not the right thing for everybody, because not everybody wants to go down that road. Some people are natural speakers, natural orators. People, when they refer to the Socratic method or compare the Socratic method with IBL, they usually mean this. It's a Socratic seminar or Socratic circle. And that's where students, maybe even in a formal classroom, sit around in a circle, and they're given a text passage or a concept, and they fight through this together. And they work through it, they argue about it, they try to get to some level of understanding. Oftentimes, there's no right or wrong. It's a matter of understanding. Again, as it says here, sometimes this discourse is prearranged somewhat with some questions, some guiding questions. IBL takes these ideas and brings them into the mathematics classroom. So when I say IBL, I realize it's a much broader subject. Pogel in chemistry is a good example. I'm going to talk about IBL in the sense of mathematics. R.L. Moore was a champion of the Moore method and really inquiry-based learning. And he taught at University of Texas for 49 years. And his classes were taught according to inquiry-based. And we're going to see where he falls on the spectrum. We're going to look at the spectrum again. He was a champion of IBL. He taught for a long time, and he really believed in these principles. What he did is he started every one of his classes except for calculus. He started them with a set of axioms, and then the students were completely responsible for the rest of the course material, proving theorems, making conjectures. Now, if the students got stuck, he didn't solve anything for them ever. He didn't tell them the right answers. He gave them the liberty and the freedom to explore these things as long as they wanted, in many cases. But if they did get stuck, he wouldn't leave them completely hanging. He would offer a conjecture that they could work on. So how did this work out? How did this 49 years of teaching, according to the Moore method or inquiry-based learning, work out? You had 50 PhD students, and if you look at the Math Genealogy Project online, you'll see that he has about 2,000 descendants, and that's a lot. But what about just these PhD students? What did they go on to do? Well, about 10, a dozen or so, became the president of the MAA, the Mathematical Association of America, or the American Mathematics Society. They ended up in one of those two places. So it seemed like it worked out really well. All right, so here's some fun. I can't help myself. We're going to have a little bit more fun. So we're going to have an analogy about what IBL is. Say that you've not been exposed to inquiry-based learning before. So this is my little intro to inquiry-based learning. Here are the actors. It's the first actor. Her name is Luna. The second actor is named Turtle. Clearly, Luna is a husky or a sled dog mix. Turtle, I'm not so sure about. They're both shelter dogs. I love them both dearly. I treat them as my children. They're wonderful little animals. Now, if we're going to have an inquiry-based setup, we need a problem to work on, and this is going to be the problem. If you walk your dogs a lot, maybe you have them on flexi leashes, you might encounter this. So she gets tangled up on the pole. Now the reason why she looks so awkward, she's been trained out of this behavior, right? I had to take her out and get her to stand and not move because she's been trained out of getting wrapped around poles. She doesn't do it, so she looks really awkward here. So that was the best of them all, best of all the photographs too. So motivating quotation. I've done a lot of agility training and a lot of obedience at all kinds of levels in both of these events with my dogs, and invariably, the trainer that I'm training under tells me, first day of class, the problem is not with the dogs. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, it's with the owner. It's with the trainer. So when I think about this, I think about it in terms also of education, because I'm trying to work with my dogs and be a trainer. So here's Luna again, just as a reminder of what our problem is and what we're stuck on. I want to retrain myself in how to deal with her, and this actually happened. So I wanted to figure out a way to teach her to go around, to get around this pole. Now, I can lecture to Luna all day long, and I do. I have. And there's a problem with that, right? She'll understand a word, maybe a phrase, but she's not conversant. She's not fluent in English, so it's a problem. Luna, can't you just understand? Why don't you just... It doesn't work, right? Now, I can get on the ground and show her how to go around the pole, and that's not effective either. Not even a little bit. So what can we do? Again, we're retraining the teacher. The teacher in this case, or the owner, is me. I can set out to establish an exercise or an experiment for her to figure this out on her own. And there's plenty of that, right? When you're out walking your dogs, there's plenty of opportunities for them to get hung up on stuff. But when it happens, my job, say go around, as soon as she hits it, as soon as she makes it happen, my job is praise and reward for the correct behavior. And it works. It works really well. It works way better than lecturing. And there are some parallels between this and inquiry-based learning in the classroom. This is true about my students for the most part. Not all of them, but most of them. What I can do is set up some experiments for my students. As soon as they do the right thing, as soon as they figure it out, give the correct kind of reward, the correct kind of praise for the student. Turtle's down here for a reason. Now he just wants to play. That's the kind of reward he wants. He just wants to play. So if I'm there with him and I'm rewarding him like that, yeah, go. He loves it. He could care less about food. Luna, on the other hand, she's a cosmic husky. She just, give me some food. You know, that's all she was interested in. Now, how well does this stuff work out in the classroom? We're going to look at that in a second, but I wanted to give you a sense of, in the classroom setting now, we've had our analogy. In the classroom setting, what does this look like? We're going to plan things out. A lecture, at least this is the way I used to teach. A lecture often looks like this. Sometimes there's a homework review at the beginning. Oftentimes there isn't. It's just talking at you. You can take a very, very passive role in this. I know that I have when I was a student. I did the same. In the Calculus 1, if we're just getting started, and I just chose Calculus 1 arbitrarily. If we wanted to get our feet wet in inquiry-based learning, we could have student presentations in the beginning of one class a week, every class, however much we decide. There's a whole spectrum of possibilities here. And at the end, maybe have some group work. Allow some time for them to work on homework. So the lecture component is reduced, but it hasn't gone away. The VMI, this is what our pre-calculus course looks like this year. This is a pilot for us. Almost no lecture component whatsoever. The students every day are showing up and doing presentations. When they're done with their presentations, there may be some guiding principles talked about a little bit, and then they get a chance to jump in right away. And this may be through group work or working on their worksheets. Now, what would a more method course look like compared to these other three? Well, we don't know that, right? If you haven't, what it would look like is it would be all orange every day, every single day. I was fortunate enough to take a more method course. Again, I'll talk about that in a second. How does this work out? How does this pre-calculus business work out in practice? Here's a video for you. I probably should turn this down. Please tell me if you can't hear the sound on this from the back. I don't want it to be too loud. There's not a lot of sound in this beginning one.
It's kind of got me sketched out.
The sign sheets up front. So what did we notice about this? I'm not in it. That's the primary observation, right? I'm in the back. And that's not just because I'm manning the camera. That's because that's where I usually am. And one other thing that's not obvious from this video is this is before the bell is rung. It's before class has started. These students are up and ready to go. And these students, even though we like to think that our cadets are, and they, for the most part, are super highly motivated, they are still students. And if we don't have this expectation that they're going to show up and participate, they'll take a typical student role. Now, let's look at what happens. This one, please let me know about the sound levels. This is going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be about 2 minutes long. So watch what happens here. This is when Cadet Mildrum gets up and gives his presentation. This is his problem.
This one was a pretty simple factoring problem, except we got thrown off by being backwards, I guess somebody would call it that. Me personally, I like to have the x squared or the variable to the square power on the left. So what you gotta do is you switch it, because this is read as 6 plus x minus x squared, which is the same thing as x squared plus x minus 6. Because when you switch it over, you have to change signs. So, factored out, my first guess was x plus 3 times x minus 2. Pulled that out, came out to that. X squared plus x minus 6, same as that. Correct factor.
Well,
Wrong.
you almost got it.
When you move it, just because you
Switch the order, you still end up with
negative
x squared
plus x
plus 6.
unless you like that
multiply.
zero on the other side.
You have to multiply the whole thing by -1.
So I need a negative here, right?
No, what
You
do
multiply the entire thing by
You can do that, or you can put parentheses around the put negative 1 on the outside.
like this.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's in. You have to put. You would have to put parentheses. No.
Yes. No, yes.
He's right. He's right.
-1.
You don't have to add the -1. You just have
You'd have to subtract the x2 because it's plus.
Negative up for
It'd be minus x, not plus.
No, it's gonna be plus X.
6 plus x, you'd have to switch the
Yeah,
plus.
you have to switch over because it'd be a positive 6 and it'd be a...
Doesn't matter.
What do we notice about this? Everybody's talking when? After he's finished his presentation and pointed at the answer. That's, again, an etiquette issue that comes up, and we make sure we adhere to that, and it's understood that everybody gets to give their presentation without question, without comment, until the end. It wasn't until he pointed at the answer box, right, that anybody said anything. But then, when he pointed at the answer box, other people chimed in immediately. We saw a young man jump up and help him. This is allowed after the presentation is done if it's clearly wrong or there are some issues. This is, at least in my classroom, some people don't permit other students to go to the board to help. I do. I think it makes for a nice interchange. What happens here and what happened here is typical of a pre-calculus class here at VMI right now. You heard a young lady chime in to give some guidance on how to maybe fix this up. This went on for 10 minutes. By the end of these 10 minutes, we have 3 different methods of solution written up on the sideboards, on the front board. We got through this. People tell me that we can't teach this kind of mathematics. They've already seen it 5 times. We can. These students clearly care about what's happening. However mundane this arithmetic or algebra may seem, these students are having a discourse. This was filmed last week after about 4.5 weeks of classes. These students are all care about the material and they're pushing through it. And they're doing it together, and I'm taking somewhat of a backseat role. How well does this work out in practice on a broader scale? There's an enormous study done, or there was an enormous study done by Sandra Larson at University of Colorado Boulder, I believe, yes. She had a whole bunch of co-authors. They did this gigantic study about inquiry-based learning with lots and lots of statistical evidence. It was completely funded by a foundation, an educational foundation, called the Educational Advancement Foundation. We'll return to them in just a minute. You may recognize some of these names. These are the folks that were responsible for this study, and it was a couple hundred pages long, and it is amazing. I'm not going to kill you with all kinds of information about, well, I won't give you a bunch of tables and charts and things, but I will give you a few quotes. There are dozens and dozens of quotes like this that are supported by statistical evidence in this report. IBL, great predictor. For all kinds of groups, IBL seems to be tremendously effective, again, supported by statistical evidence. There are also surveys done. These were near the end of the report. They're student surveys. They liked the independence. Students love the independence, actually, and I find that anecdotally in my own classes, in the course evaluation. They love the independence, the responsibility for the material. And so this is from the faculty there, the surveys for faculty across these different institutions. They, of course, if they're teaching IBL, they're probably going to like it, so that's not really any surprise, but they typically enjoy the process. But what about, say, K through 12? What about 9th grade? What about a section of kids, a class of kids who are tremendously underprivileged? Maybe 50% of them don't speak English. Well, I was thrilled to be part of a conference this past summer where Lee Mahavier Peterman, part of a family of teachers, the Mahaviers, she gave a presentation talking about her 9th grade math class. It was inquiry-based. Which one is hers? This is compared to all of the classes near her in her region. Her class, her standardized test scores were way above everyone else. So why IBL? Why would I choose IBL? I'll be right back. One second, I gotta plug in my flyer. Not too bad, right? So why would I choose IBL? So in 2007, I was in probably about 2/3 of the way through my doctorate program at Virginia Tech. And I'd been informed by the department, the mathematics department, that I was going to be getting the mathematics teaching award. And I was pretty thrilled about it. And I was pretty happy. It was a departmental award, and I was honored. But there's a shooting at Virginia Tech. We all know about that. And it changed everybody's lives. And most of my classes were taught in Norris Hall, all but one. No classes are taught in Norris Hall anymore. So every one of us around the world reevaluated our lives, and I was no exception to that. And I reevaluated my life in terms of the educational side. And I started thinking about a student. I was asked to speak at one of the students who was killed, one of my students who was killed in the shooting, Henry Lee, in Roanoke. And I did so, and I thought about what have I given Henry? What had I given him? What did I offer him as an education? Had I grandstanded? Had I entertained? Probably. Did I give him an education? I wasn't so sure about that. So I started thinking about what happened to me as an undergraduate at Salisbury University under my undergraduate advisor, Lee May. He taught according to inquiry-based learning. All of his classes were taught this way, from Calc 1 all the way up to a strict Moore method number theory course. And I loved every one of them. And he always was sort of backstage. He wasn't up front. He wasn't up front in the classroom. But he was there for us, and he educated us. And he gave us tools to think about mathematics and life. And I thought, maybe, that's the way I should teach. So from that point to this, I've been gradually incorporating, as I learn more and more, inquiry-based learning into my teaching. There's a great quote that I think is appropriate. And that's, this is the reason why the past has such magical power. Because after life's fitful fever, it sleeps well. What was eager and grasping, what was petty and transitory has faded away. The things that were beautiful and eternal shine out of it, like stars in the night. I'll ask you to please give me a chance, grant me the liberty to change two words in this, and that's the past. What I'd like to offer to you is, this is the reason why education has such magical power. The things that were beautiful and eternal shine out of it, like stars in the night. Not the product rule, not the quotient rule. What have I offered my students in terms of their cognitive learning, emotional learning, and in their lives? I'm grateful for your time today. I'm grateful for your indulgence in all my antics. I love to teach, and it's pretty clear that I love to entertain and grandstand. As promised, and let me hit the lights again. Here are a list of links, and I think, Susan, some of these things will be put online. The Educational Advancement Foundation is a fantastic organization, and all they care about is mathematics education. They have all kinds of other things that they could get involved in. They spend money, offer grants, small, medium, large grants, all levels, K through 20. Yeah, and I've been fortunate to become more involved with them. Please get in touch with them. They're expecting you. There's an academy where you can get a mentor online. They have been set up so far for undergraduate studies, but they are, again, expecting traffic. Journal, free notes, all kinds of classes you can use to set up an inquiry-based learning course. And finally, this name is the same name that I mentioned a few moments ago, Lee May. He co-authored this book, one of the best books I've ever seen on inquiry-based learning. It says the Moore method, but if you talk to Lee May, he's going to talk to you about inquiry-based learning. So, again, thank you for your time. I'm going to switch over to Debbie, where she may be. Oh, great. Thank you. All right. Thanks, folks.
All I can say is, wow, another round of applause. Thank you, Randy. Stand up if you're a K-12 educator, please. I salute you. I represent you, and any one of you could have stood up here in my place today. Thank you. Stand up if you represent and are spending your life with kids at higher ed, in higher ed. Stand up, please. Higher ed. We are trying our best in K-12 to prepare our kids for their next step with you. Thank you for all you're doing. And students, K through 12 students, higher ed students, please stand up. You, of course, are the reason we're here today. And we are wanting so much to prepare you for your futures. Whoa. Could you grab the original PowerPoint on inquiry? Sure. Thanks.
So let's make sure I get this right for you. This one?
Go up to get onto inquiry. Okay. Yeah. It's tan with squares. Down. Right there. And just protect that. And give me the clicker. Got it. Once we have the clicker, we'll be off and running. In K-12, it's all about the process standards, and we are implementing IBL, and we have been actually through the process standards since '89 when our standards came out from NCTM. And so kids are in IBL classrooms, learning through problem solving, and learning math through problem solving, and this is what it looks like. Reasoning is expected, multiple representations, kids are representing their thinking in different ways so that thinking can become visible not only to them, but to teachers as well. Communicating, talking, and writing about math, and of course, connections. 2 more have been added recently with Common Core, and so precision and strategic use of tools. So all of these things play together in the IBL classroom. In my session, I'll be talking about 1 division's quest for IBL and 4 design projects in order to implement it. First one is Algebra Functions and Data Analysis, and that's a bridge course from Algebra 1 to Algebra 2 for students who struggle in mathematics and need that for a standard diploma now. The second one is Geometry and Construction, which marries a geometry class with a CTE carpentry class and gives kids credits in both. And again, non-traditional learners typically. The third one is our capstone course. And then finally, middle school. We'll be talking about all the way through. Again, IBL learning and those practical suggestions, what we've done and found that works. And my K-12 counterparts will tell you, and we know this, that when we choose the tasks we do, when we choose the experiments, the labs, when we choose what we do with students, we think of curriculum alignment with our standards of learning, both horizontally and vertically, what came before and what comes next. We think about the cognitive depth. Are we choosing tasks or memorization and procedures without connections, or as Randy was talking about, doing mathematics, procedures with connections, those higher level tasks. And finally, the environment, the classroom. Our classrooms would like to be on the spectrum where Randy's pre-calculus is, and the projects I'm going to talk about today are. And the idea is a classroom that's a math learning community, where kids are talking about mathematics, that classroom discourse, they're writing about it, they're reasoning and justifying and presenting their solutions, just as you saw in the video. And again, representing their thinking in different ways so that the teacher can provide that on-time formative feedback. And so kids can self-assess, where am I? And what do I understand and what do I not understand? And taking that ownership into their next step in learning. So that's what we're about in K-12. And when we talk about IBL, we're talking about cognitive demand. And Stein and Smith have spent the last 2 decades at University of Pittsburgh researching cognitive demand in the tasks that teachers choose and preparing preschool pre-service teachers for their jobs as teachers. And what they're saying is that not only do kids do better with active inquiry and sense-making, but it also allows really all kids to be able to access mathematics, and all kids need mathematics for their futures and in the workplace beyond. So Stein and Smith have come up with a task analysis guide so that teachers in our division do this routinely, evaluate the tasks that they give their students. Are they giving memorization tasks? Are they giving procedures without connections? The descriptors are there. Or are they giving the higher level cognitive demand tasks, the procedures with connections to real life within mathematics, the connections to interdisciplinary, science, business, social studies, or kids doing mathematics? And again, we'll talk about what that looks like in geometry and carpentry and algebra functions and data analysis in our capstone course. We have teachers doing studies, action research on, what do my tasks look like over a unit, and how did that affect student performance? So what does it look like? Problem solving and reasoning, and these are our kids doing mathematics. Here are student voices collected from surveys. Turn to your neighbor, which one resonates with you? Which one just jumps out at you? Could be one of your students. Turn to your neighbor, which one do you like? Anyone? You're allowed to talk, it's okay. I'm sorry? The first one, real scenarios where you can apply what you're learning. Again, we didn't edit any of this. Embedded in a real situation, again, you have your data collection over here with the CBL and the microphone. Again, you have geometry and construction over there. Teamwork, big time what you see in our classrooms. Student voices on teamwork. In every survey, believe it or not, 100% of the kids chose this as a preference for learning. Which one resonates with you? Anybody? Think about that. Real kids, this is non-edited, said that in one of our classrooms or more. Look at the last one. We all chuckled over that one. Like it a lot better than sitting in a corner looking at a book all day. Imagine 7 periods a day, where if you're blocked, it's less. And what do you do in each one, and what does it look like, and what does it feel like, and how are you thinking? It's all about thinking. Appropriate tools, that's one of the new ones from Common Core, and it's one of our younger students. Multiple representations. And again, this is how we think of that whole IBL experimental learning and data collection and math modeling and those things. Start with the real situation, kids collect data, and then they represent it in different representations, table graph, try to come up with a rule, an equation to fit that data. And how are the data behaving, and which function would you fit it with, and all that stuff. But the key is interpreting the data for decision making. And hence the real scenarios then make sense. Without a question, all of that is nice if you're a math teacher, if you like math, but it doesn't lead to anything. And that real situation leads to that decision making that we want them to be able to do in real life. Absolutely. Communication, orally, and writing, these are students who struggle in mathematics, bottom quartile. What do they say about the classroom discourse? Take a moment, maybe think of the one you'd like to share somebody. Absolutely. I think I understand it, but then it's harder to explain my thinking to others. Yes? Absolutely. How about one more? One more. Written by real students from different age levels. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I teach high school, and most of mine, I'm the first teacher they get to.
Right. Right. They're not used to it sometimes. And we found in AFTA that it took them a couple of months to get used to, again, that classroom discourse, talking groups, presenting their ideas, their solutions, and, again, getting that feedback in the room and so forth. You saw that in Randy's. Oh, one of our kids was being funny and came up with this. I had to include it because he sent it to me. Data collection analysis, again, one of our middle school students with a CBR, again, working with distance, time, plots, velocity. Evidence for decision making, we talked about that. Again, analyzing and fitting with a model after you've collected the data. Most of the labs look like that. Don't those sound like fun? This is what kids do in IBL classrooms. We had a TREX project with a community partner, which was cool. We have solar panels in our alternative center, and the kids can access those data. They go to a local plant, production plant for Crown Cork and Seal, make the caps on beer bottles and soda cans, and they analyze which production lanes need adjustments. Again, real data. And again, these are with kids who struggle in mathematics. And I'm often asked, well, are these the honors kids that get to do this? And I'll say, all of our kids get to do this. What do typical labs look like? And you can read up there. Randy went through this before. These are middle school through high school students. We'll be sharing examples of that in my session, the next one. And you get a link to all the labs that are integrated with math science, all those data collection labs, and a course site link for each of the courses. These are course sites developed by teachers, probably about 500 labs and activities in those total, and we'll be, again, sharing that later. I'm sorry? I'm sorry? Pictures? Sorry. Oh. Yeah, you'll get it they're sharing that out. It'll be published on the site. In the end, in the other one, I'll share the links for middle school, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, Algebra 1, AFTA, and so forth. Okay, well, our time is up, and it's ready for question and answer from your part. This was a preview, again, on how K-12 is fitting into the whole post-secondary transition and into, again, the workforce. And again, I applaud you for being here. I applaud you for what you do. I'm in there with you, and we're doing it all, again, for our students. Randy, Q&A.
That's right. Any questions about anything that we've talked about or covered today? Yes? Please.
Okay. Well, what we do is we have our labs set up, and the kids are working typically in groups, and they typically are coming up with, again, their data collection, their table, graph equation, whatever. They present that, usually on posters around the room, and then the formative part, the feedback, happens with a tandem of students with teachers. The teacher selects which items of work, like Table 2 or Table 4, are presenting in which order, and may sequence that based on the mathematics, again, from concrete to more symbolic, or possibly misconceptions first, get those cleared up, kind of, sort of, and then move on to the more efficient, elegant solutions. Again, not telling the answer or telling what it should be, but figuring out how to monitor what's going on in the 6 or 8 groups, and then sequencing who presents. During the presentations, the kids provide the feedback. And again, you saw that in Randy's video. Ours are more hands-on with things and posters and lots of markers. How many of you use the markers and the presentations around the room? I bet a lot of you do, K-12. And so the students provide that feedback. Now the teacher can come in with, feedback right in there, that formative on-time feedback as well. That's only one type. When kids are working in stations or kids are working on individual experiments or with a partner, the teacher's always the facilitator, walking around providing that guidance. Then every day there's usually some sort of a check, which is in terms of their performance task, and the teacher can look and see, again, who needs that, that has that misconception, so that can be cleared up right away. I can talk a lot about the summative assessments at the end and how those play out in the design process of the course. And we did that with our quadratic sheet because the year before last it really wasn't working. And we redesigned the whole thing, and it was based on that formative assessment idea. Good question. Sorry I'm so long, but I love it. Another one? Yes.
The process you showed us in the video would be a lot longer than I would take and more students have that problem. Wondering, like, over the course of the semester, you still cover the same amount of content? Obviously, you get told you think it sees that they're getting better, but are you able to cover the same volume with the students?
That's a great question. And again, wow, I'm really loud. Get this down some. It depends on the instructor, really. For me, and the courses that we're teaching this semester, it's been organized into a series of worksheets that we spend a lot of time on. And we get through them all. They're sort of marching orders, use a pun, that we go down, and there are 15 worksheets that we get through. And if we get through these worksheets, and we do one a week, we make it through all of the material that we want them to get through to be prepared to take Calc 1. And so it's a pass-fail course, this pre-calculus course. So it's setting them up. It's a gateway course for them to either be able to take Calc 1 or not. And we want them to be able to get through these things. So in the classroom setting, the presentations take central stage, and I step in the back. And we get through it a lot. But some days we get tied down with something. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't know that some of these students have gotten a chance to get that tied down with something. And then 3 other students chime in, and then we have 3 different solutions for the same problem, 3 different methods used, arithmetic methods used for the same problem. And it seems to really work well. Now, the number theory course that I took as an undergraduate, in the Moore method, which was completely developed by us, we did not get through as much material as, say, a standard elementary number theory course in undergraduate school. We just didn't. And that had a lot to do with Dr. May's approach and the way that he organized things. So it really varies. It can be more structured so that it's guaranteed that things are going to march along and it's going to happen. Or it can be very open-ended, like the number theory course.
And in K-12, if you teach 4th grade or 6th grade or Algebra 1, you have to get through your SOL curriculum. And how we do it in an IBL course is that we set up the units, the teachers put together the units, and we spiral a lot of the concepts in these rich tasks. So what do I mean by that? A rich task might address 4 SOLs. It might have 8 different skills embedded in it as practice, and the kids don't even know it. They're doing the lab, the activity, which is exciting and fun. And so these rich tasks get you through the year. In other words, you're saving time because you're getting more bang for your buck, basically. Plus, here's the other hidden thing. They get to see it more than once. In AFTA, they see linear functions, I promise you, in 10 different labs. By the end of 10 labs, it's always looking the same. You have a constant rate of change. And so they're like, oh, they get it, and they get it from an experiential level. And again, they're seeing things in their whole or their entirety instead of in discrete parts. So that would be the way I would answer that question. K-12. 4th grade, absolutely. The kids absolutely learn that way.
Yeah, one follow-on comment that was probably more important than anything else I said was that we really stress mastery. in this course. And that's built into the syllabus. It's built into what I say. We try to get a vocabulary change about what's the point of us being here. It's not necessarily well, it is to master the subject and to master the arithmetic, the algebra, and the trigonometry that they are going to have to know to be able to succeed in Calc 1. So the emphasis is on mastery across all levels, and built into the worksheets, what I say, what's on the syllabus.
Can I ask a question? I'm up here, Andy.
Yes.
I'm up here. First of all, props to those guys at the beginning. They were awesome.
Yeah.
Your students were awesome. What a great way to start a presentation. It was awesome. Got everybody's attention. I'm going to presenting something like that to elementary students where they're writing math about different concepts that they're learning.
Nice.
Are you going to have a link for that video? Or are you going to video those guys and put it on YouTube?
I'd love to. We had a secret taper in the audience. We weren't sure if we were going to be allowed to, so we did a secret taper. But we have an official video, and I'll ask through official channels. Okay, thank you.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, I'm going to advertise then, if there are no questions. The advertisement is VMI is now a host institution for the American Mathematics competitions, which have been going on forever. It's 65, 68 years old. The AMC 8 is happening November 13th here. So if you have 7th and 8th grade students that you'd like to bring here, it's no cost. We're going to buy you lunch. We're going to pay for your tests. We host this competition. We also do the AMC 10-12, and we'll be doing that in February again this year. But if you have 7th or 8th grade students and teachers, you all are welcome to come. Please have them come and take part in this. We are now officially a host institution. We have been for about a year. We'd love to have you come and participate. It happens in the Hall of Valor. The students spread out. We get some post tours, and it ends up being a really nice day. So please get in touch with me. I'm readily available through the VMI.edu websites. Get in touch with me and register as many students as you want.
Well, I think you will agree this was well worth waiting for. I know that the cadets worked really hard, as did Major Cohn on their presentation. I don't know about you all, but I still haven't got past the 7 kids issue. I am just thrilled that we were given the chance to have your presentations this morning. So I know you're anxious to make your way to your breakout sessions, but if you would, please join me in thanking Randy and Deborah one more time. I can't wait to hear what the soup says. It was fantastic.
We want that.
You got some moves.
I love it. Every time I go to a math conference, I get a crew of people out, and we're not allowed to talk about math the rest of the night. They're out dancing.
It shows. It was just wonderful.
If I'm going to check with Justin. If it's so the beginning of the same PowerPoint.
Yep. I just need to hide a few slides, which I can do. I guess I should do it.
So that is the Prezi.
I need the Prezi and I need the...
You need this. And you want to start at the beginning of this, right?
Yeah. Thank
right
you
there.
so much. Yeah.
my computer if you have yours on a thumb drive so that we're not having to switch? Or do you want to just use her computer?
Oh, everything's on
here.
And I've got the
wireless hooked up. I've got the websites we need to hold
Okay. All right, if you got it. No, I don't see her.
Let me get this out of your way.
Okay, sorry.
I think oops, I'm sorry.
This is from Troy, and here you're
Okay, thank you. Did you have fun, Megan? Did you have fun? Thank you for introducing.
He put his on the podium.
Get this out of your way.
Can I help?
Well, it's just awkward with so many cables. Cover.